Hi, we're at the 2007 Film Festival and we're interviewing directors. And your name is?
Lee Feigon.
And you have a movie at the festival. Please tell us about it.
My film is The Passion of the Mao. It's a madcap revisionist documentary of Chairman Mao, the former head of China. I call it a movie similar to Michael Moore meets South Park because there's a lot of animation. Another way to describe the movie would be Borat does the Cultural Revolution.
Wow. Um, so explain the movie. So what are you following Chairman Mao? Is it about Chairman Mao, or is he a character in your movie?
He's a character in the sense that I do use a lot of animation because I talk about some of the kinkier aspects of Chairman Mao's life. So there's no way to really get archival footage on that. But the movie is actually a serious documentary about Mao. One of the problems with Mao is that he was deified in his lifetime. He was treated as a god. So the result is that it's been very difficult to talk about Mao as anything other than a deity, or the other side of the coin, which is what a lot of people in the West consider him today, a villain. I'm trying to get the historical record straight. But I believe that one of the best ways to get the historical record straight is to attack the deification. Because I think that, first of all, was one of the worst things about Mao. But second of all, as I indicated a moment ago, it makes it almost impossible to really talk about what actually happened somewhat objectively.
But this is a funny movie, right?
Yeah, as I said, I use humor to approach my subject, partially because it's just me. I'm a funny guy. Some of my former students who have seen the movie say, hey, that's the way you used to teach. And I say, well, I hope it's not quite that extreme. But there's a serious purpose to the humor, and that is that I think the only way to get rid of the animation without it creating a lot of animosity is to approach it with humor and to talk about things like the fact that Mao was chronically constipated and liked to have his bodyguards stick their fingers up his ass to cure his constipation. Mao didn't like to brush his teeth to the point where green ooze covered his molars. So I get into some of those things, but at the same time, it's a very serious movie because it talks about the accomplishments under the Maoist regime. Mao not only unified China, but he laid the basis for the economic changes that are taking place today. A lot of people talk about how China didn't begin to develop until Mao died and the West came in. That's just bunk. It's complete nonsense. The economy grew over 18% under Mao.
Okay, so we've heard a lot about China. Let's hear more about how this relates to your movie.
Well, the movie is really a lifetime labor of love. I was for 20 years a professor of Chinese history, but while I was in the middle of graduate school, right after I started my dissertation, I decided, you know what? I really don't want to be an academic. What I really want to do is be a filmmaker. So I quit graduate school and went off and took filmmaking classes. And then, as it turned out, my dissertation got accepted by Princeton University Press, and I got hired for an academic job. And so I left filmmaking thinking, well, I'll try out this academic stuff for a while, but someday I want to be a filmmaker. But one thing led to another. Didn't look like it was going to happen. And then a few years ago, I bought a new computer for my daughter, and I noticed that it came with a program, Final Cut Pro, a movie editing program on the computer. And I thought, hey, you know what? I can use this program to make a movie. And that's what I always wanted to do. And so I asked my daughter if she'd show me how to use the software, and she said, hell no, Dad. But I got my 17-year-old nephew to do it. So with my 17-year-old nephew in tow, I began to collect a lot of archival footage and to put together the movie. At some point I realized that what I really needed was animation. And I went to a bunch of animation studios in the United States, and they were talking millions of dollars, which was something that I couldn't afford to do. So I got on the internet, and I found somebody in India who said if I wired them the money, they would do the animation. And lo and behold, they did it, and they did a great job. And then I started looking for new footage because I wanted to get better footage to go with this great animation. I looked around. I got some from China, some from other places in Europe, and some university archives. But the best footage turned out to be from the old Soviet archives in Russia.
So as far as filmmaking, is your first film? Do you have a second film, or is this satisfy your needs?
No, now that I'm back to filmmaking, I plan on staying back to filmmaking. And the next movie I'm working on is it's a film adaptation of a 16th century feminist pornographic novel. Chinese.
So Chinese and pornography. There's a theme here. I'm getting the theme.
Well, I hope that's not the only theme in my life.
So I have to ask one more question. I mean, I don't know, in my youth, I think of Mao, I think of Richard Nixon and ping pong. Is any of that in the movie?
Well, Mao is the one that opened up the relation to the United States. When Richard Nixon said the word, the United States had kept China isolated for a long time. So yes, Richard Nixon's in the movie, Mao's in the movie. They're in the movie together. There's a little ping and there's a little pong. I don't know about ping pong.
Well, thank you very much. And your movie is showing next when?
It's showing Saturday night at 7, Saturday night, February 3rd at 7 at Center Stage Theater. There's also going to be a second additional showing sometime in the next week.
Well, thank you very much, and good luck with your film at the festival.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the interview.
Okay.